All right, and now we move to the main event of the evening in the middleweight division, a battle between top 10 ranked contenders and the number 3 ranked Jared the Killer Gorilla Cannonier going up against the number 7 ranked Sean Tarzan Strickland, who comes into the fight with a record of 25 victories and 4 defeats. On the side of Jared Cannonier, you're looking at 15 victories and 6 defeats. This is a really good main event. It's a very, very tough matchup for both guys, but I expect a lot of striking and not so much grappling in the fight overall. I mean, let's talk about Sean Strickland. I mean, he was on a tear. He was on a, let's see, how many fights did he win before that loss to Pereira? He was on a 6-fight win streak before he lost to Alex Pereira, the current UFC middleweight champion. He lost July 2nd, 2022 in the first round via knockout. Pereira catching Sean Strickland with the left hook after he feinted the jab to the body, but he was working the jab to the body, circling to his left, constantly circling, popped the jab. He feinted the jab. Strickland thought it was going to go low. He went to parry it. As he went to parry it, his chin was open. Boom, left hook, dropped him. 2 right hands on the way up, and that's all she wrote. Now he's the new UFC middleweight champion. So the last loss for Sean Strickland came to the middleweight champion in Alex Pereira. Before that, like I said, he was on a 6-fight win streak. Wins over Jack Hermanson, Uriah Hall, Christoph Jacko, Brendan Allen, Jack Marshman, Nordine Taleb. And all of those wins, out of those 6 wins, 4 of them came by way of decision and 2 by finish. The knockout win over Brendan Allen, where he was a pretty big underdog, I believe, and then the knockout in the second round in October of 2018 to Nordine Taleb. Prior to that fight, he got knocked out in the first round with a spinning wheel kick to Alizé Zaleski dos Santos. You look on the side of Jared Cannonier, he's coming off that title fight loss to Israel, the last stylebender Adesanya. 15 wins and 6 losses, 12 wins coming by way of finish, 10 via KO, TKO, 2 by submission. On the side of Strickland, he was 25-4, but out of those 25 wins, 14 come by way of finish, 11 by way of decision. So, you know, it goes both ways, but lately in his career, it's been by way of decision, going to the judges' scorecards. Cannonier, much more of a finisher, much more knockout power. If this thing would just load, we could go back to where we want to be. Okay, Cannonier, 15-6. Coming off that unanimous decision loss to Israel Adesanya at UFC 276, the same night that Strickland got knocked out by Alex Pereira. So both men's last fight was on the same card, UFC 276 July 2022. So they've been out for about 5 months. About 5 months by the time this fight comes to fruition. But Strickland's coming off a vicious knockout, and 5 months after that knockout, I don't think that's enough time, man. Just speaking off the rip, I don't think that's enough time after that vicious knockout. I mean, it wasn't like he just got knocked out or TKO'd. I mean, he got dropped with the left hook, was out on his feet, and then got caught with a right hand, which knocked him out, and another right hand on the way down, which was knocking him out again after he was already knocked out. So who came off the worst loss? Definitely Sean Strickland. Who's taken more damage overall in their career? I would say that's on the side of Cannonier, but recency bias, you would say that Strickland is more damaged goods coming into the fight. 12 out of 15 wins are by way of finish for Cannonier, but 10 come by way of KO, TKO. Let's look at the stats first before we get into like the full-on breakdown, because I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this fight in terms of the breakdown side, but we will touch on it for sure. Height, you're going to have a 2-inch height advantage for Sean Strickland, 6'1" to 5'11" for Jared the Killer Gorilla Cannonier, 77.5-inch reach for Cannonier to 76-inch reach for Sean Strickland. He's going to have a 1.5-inch reach advantage is Jared Cannonier, but the guy who's going to use their reach more effectively is going to be Sean Strickland. Strickland, again, kind of like a Bobby Green, but a little different. He's going to use that Philly shell. He's going to keep that rear hand in front of the lead side of his chin, which would be the left side, and he's going to be parrying, popping the jab, parry, pop the jab, parry, pop the jab, long left hook, overhand right, jab, jab, right hand, jab, jab, right hook, left hook, back to the jab, circle out, jab, jab, right hand, left hook, rear uppercut. I mean, Strickland's going to fight behind the jab, just like a Bobby Green, just like a Demirez Magulov. This card is the battle of the jabs, and that's probably what I'm going to title this episode. The story written by jabs. That's exactly what this fight card is to me in terms of the way the fights play out. More power, 100% on the side of Cannonier. More volume, 100% on the side of Sean Strickland. You look at the reach. We already talked about a 1.5-inch reach advantage for Cannonier, but Strickland's going to use that reach more effectively behind that jab. Looking at win percentages, 80% of the wins come by way of finish for Cannonier, to 56% of the wins by way of finish for Strickland, 44% via decision. Only 20% of the wins for Cannonier come by way of decision on the scorecards. Average fight time, 11 minutes and 9 seconds for Cannonier to 13 minutes and 7 seconds for Sean Strickland. Both these guys, if it's a 3-round fight, for the majority, they go to decision, but the bigger finisher is going to be Cannonier. I mean, just going off the stats, just going off the way that they fight, Cannonier is definitely going to be the guy who's at a higher upside for a finish, especially with Strickland coming off. Yes, I know it's the same card, but a much, much, much more vicious loss only about 5 months ago after being knocked out to Alex Pereira. That's something you definitely have to look at when going into this fight. Average knockdowns per 15-minute fight, 0.48 for Cannonier to 0.29 for Sean Tarzan Strickland. We're going to look at the significant strikes, which should be pretty interesting. Strikes landed per minute, or significant strikes landed per minute, 3.73 for Cannonier to 5.54 for Sean Strickland. So, almost a 2-strike advantage per minute in terms of significant strikes. Strickland is so active. He's always on the volume. He's always piecing you up, trying to land on you. He wasn't that active in the fight against Jack Hermansson. Pretty lackluster performance, but definitely a win for Strickland. But, a lot of people didn't like his performance in that fight and thought he was for sure going to finish Hermansson. That didn't come to be. Significant strike percentage, 51% of significant strikes landed for Cannonier to 40% for Strickland. But Strickland's more of a volume guy anyway, so I wouldn't play into that too much. Strikes absorbed per minute, pretty close, 3.5 for Cannonier to 4.01 for Sean Strickland, and the defense overall is actually on the side of Strickland at 65% striking defense to a 61% defense rate for Jared the Killer Gorilla Cannonier. We'll look at the grappling ever so slightly. That's actually something that I think is going to play more into the factor of Sean Strickland, but it's not going to be easy to take Cannonier down. But I think if it goes into the 4th and the 5th, that's when Strickland can start to get those takedowns and really use that to his advantage to seal up those last 2 rounds. 1.14 takedowns per 15-minute fight for Sean Strickland to 0.19 for Jared Cannonier. Takedown accuracy is also going to be on the side of Strickland with a 61% takedown accuracy to a 25% takedown accuracy rate for the Killer Gorilla. Takedown defense, 65% for Cannonier to an 85% takedown defense for Strickland. So the better grappler offensively and defensively, the better wrestler offensively and defensively is definitely Sean Strickland, and I think we're going to see him use that in the fight. Normally he doesn't use it, but I think he might resort to it a little bit more just coming off of that last vicious knockout loss to Alex Pereira. I think that he's stubborn enough to keep it on the feet and want to slug it out, but I think that's a bad idea against Cannonier early on in the fight. I think in the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th, standing and striking with Cannonier, trying to out-volume him, drown him under the pressure, that's going to be the better option. But using the wrestling early, or at least trying to mix it up between the striking and the wrestling and use a full MMA game, that's going to be the best path to victory for Strickland, is using the wrestling early to tire out Cannonier and then working the volume, the cardio, the pace, the pressure, the multiple shot combinations, working behind the jab, the right hand, the left hook. That's going to be what Strickland does, and he's going to want to drown Cannonier under the volume and pressure in the championship rounds in the 5-round main event. Listen to me. Who's the more technical striker? Jared Cannonier. Who has more power? Jared Cannonier. Who is the better wrestler? Sean Strickland. Who has better grappling? Sean Strickland. Like I said, power, knockout power, technical ability, footwork, that's all on the side of Cannonier. Volume, pace, pressure, cardio, that's on the side of Strickland. In a 5-round fight, the first 3 rounds are going to be where Strickland has to be very, very careful, because not only is Jared Cannonier very technical, very good left hook, very good right hook and southpaw, very good jab, right hand. He's very good at slipping and rolling underneath the shots and going off on an angle, kind of like a boxing Mike Tyson style where bob and weave, and then you'll shift off to the one side to cut off the opponent and direct them into the power. He's very, very good with his footwork, and that's something that I think people have to be aware of in this fight. Cannonier is very good with the footwork, very good on the angle, very good at getting to the outside foot, cutting off the angle, and directing the opponent into power. Let me tell you, man, I know Alex Pereira is going to have the most power in the division. Cannonier is probably number 2 in terms of knockout power at 185. And coming off that vicious knockout, in Strickland's last fight against Pereira, Cannonier definitely has the ability to catch Strickland on the chin and put his lights out. 100% he has the ability to knock him out. That's why I think Strickland has to use his wrestling, has to use his kicking game, but not so much, only like lead teeps to the body, the front kicks, the teeps, the little tiny low kicks to keep Cannonier away from him, but not too many kicks to where Cannonier can time it, catch and sweep, and then get off on an angle and land a vicious hook, either a right hook or a left hook. Right hook if he switches southpaw, left hook if he stays in orthodox. Look, I'm worried about Sean Strickland in the early rounds. Like, coming off that knockout over Pereira, I've said it multiple times just in this breakdown in general, but it's something you have to be aware of. It's something you have to be very, very careful about. Because, man, I'm telling you, if Cannonier catches Strickland on the chin, he can knock him out. And Strickland is there to be hit. He has good defense, but that Philly shell style, or the catch and parry with the rear hand and the Philly shell on the lead side, if he mixes in feints, Cannonier can feint and land the left hook just like Pereira. He can work the body and then come up top to the head. Strickland is good at deflecting shots. He is good at blocking in the Philly shell. But I think the best weapon for Cannonier is to work the low kicks early and often, because Strickland has literally no separation in his stance. He stands square. He stands straight up. There's no widening of the stance. There's no lowering your level and putting the weight into your hips and your feet and putting your weight back to generate the power from the shots. He's going to be very tall. He's going to be very straight up. He's going to be leaning back. He's going to be Philly shell, catch, roll, slip. Not really roll. He doesn't roll. Catch, parry, catch, jab, right hand, catch, parry. Look, if Cannonier wants to win this fight, number 1, calf kicks. Number 2, body work. Number 3, angles and footwork. That is how Cannonier is going to win this fight. Get on the angle, constantly shift, slip, roll, pivot, angle step off to your right, angle step off to your left, and rip to the body, rip up top to the head. That's what Cannonier has to do, and he's got the power to knock out Strickland. But I think the volume, pace, and pressure of Sean Strickland is going to be too much for Cannonier in this fight. I mean, in the first round against Uriah Hall, he threw over 120, over 130 strikes. Let me see if I can pull that up. Uriah Hall. I'm going to pull it up just so I can show you what I mean. So Sean Strickland threw 428 strikes in 5 rounds. That's over or almost 100 strikes per round for Strickland. He landed 186 out of 428. Hall 107 out of 258. More accuracy on the side of Strickland, but I mean almost doubled up the amount of strikes that Uriah Hall threw over 5 rounds. Total strikes, he threw 472. So yeah, pretty much 100 strikes per round of output for Strickland, and it was pretty consistent over the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds. Look, if he keeps up that volume, I don't think we're going to see him get into the 400 or 500 in terms of overall volume. I think it'll be around 300, 350, but he's going to work that volume. He's going to be in the face. He's going to be throwing the jab. He's going to be faking. He's going to be throwing the overhand right, the left hook. He's going to be in the face of Cannonier. Catch, jab, right hand, jab, left hook, right hand, jab, overhand right, left hook, double jab, right uppercut, 1-1, jab, circle, right hand, jab, cross, jab, slip, jab, jab, right hand, left hook, right uppercut to the body, left hook, right hook, left hook to the body, right uppercut, right hook, left hook, double jab, right hand. I mean, he's going to be on the volume. He's going to be on the pace. He's going to be on the pressure. And that is something I don't think Cannonier can keep up with over 5 rounds. I mean, honestly, I really don't think so. I don't think Cannonier can keep up with the pace of Strickland over 5 rounds. I think the first 2.5 rounds, Cannonier is dangerous, and if he catches Strickland with the guard down and his chin up in the air, especially with that footwork and the way he can generate, power into his shots with the bobbing and weaving style, landing those big shots, and the technical ability of Cannonier, he can 100% knock him out. But I don't think he's going to find that knockout shot. And if he doesn't find the knockout shot, I think we're going to get a late TKO in the championship rounds from Sean Strickland. I'm worried about his chin. I'm worried about his durability coming off of that knockout loss to Alex Pereira, who's now the current UFC middleweight champion. I am worried about it 100%. However, Strickland spars all the time. He's always in the gym. He's always working. I'm sure he didn't take a whole lot of time off after this knockout to Pereira. If somebody was smart, if his coach, Eric Nixick, which I know he definitely probably advised him to do, I love Eric Nixick. We've talked to him on the podcast. I'm sure he told him to lay off, but knowing Sean, he's a madman. He's crazy. He's not going to lay off. He's always sparring. He wants to spar all the time. Sparring gives you the best look for a fight in terms of training. It gets your timing. It gets your accuracy. It gets your pace. It gets your combinations. It gets your footwork. It gets your awareness of the cage and where you are in terms of your positioning. That's what helps you the most in terms of preparing for an actual fight. Fight simulation is what prepares you the most for an actual fight. And that is why I have to pick Sean Strickland here. I know people are going to side with the power of Cannonier. I know people are going to worry about Strickland after that knockout loss he suffered to Pereira, that vicious knockout loss, coming back only 5 months after that knockout loss. Yes, it is concerning. Yes, it's probably not smart, but Strickland's going to beat Cannonier here. He's going to overwhelm him in the 4th and 5th round, and he's going to get a late TKO. He's going to overwhelm him with the volume, start landing shots, piecing him up, and he's going to hurt him. So my pick overall for the fight is going to be the number 7 ranked Sean Tarzan Strickland to defeat Jared the Killer Gorilla Cannonier via a 4th round TKO. I think he catches him, hurts him, overwhelms him with volume, and the ref jumps in and stops it. I'm going to go with Sean Strickland here. I really think he wins this fight, and I like him a lot here. So Sean Strickland to win this fight via 4th round KO TKO. Look at the money line, minus 105 for Cannonier, minus 115 for Sean Strickland. I mean, basically a pick 'em in terms of your fight. If you want to bet, I mean, I would say money line is the best bet. I don't like this fight from a betting perspective at all because I worry about the Cannonier knockout power. However, I also think Sean Strickland's volume, pace, and pressure can give Cannonier a lot of problems. So I'm going to give you my best bets, but let me just preface it by saying I don't like the betting side of this fight. Number 1 is Sean Strickland on the money line at minus 110. Your second best bet is going to be Cannonier to win by knockout. If you're on the side of Cannonier by knockout at plus 250. And your third best bet is going to be Sean Strickland to win by TKO at plus 400. So number 1 is Strickland on the money line at minus 115. Number 2 is going to be Cannonier by knockout at plus 250. And number 3 is going to be Sean Strickland by KO or TKO at plus 400. All right, that's going to be it for my picks on UFC Vegas 66, UFC Fight Night 216, I believe, if I'm calling it right. Strickland versus Cannonier. The fight takes place this Saturday night from the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you're catching any of these fights on the YouTube channel, if you haven't listened to the audio podcast, definitely go out of your way and check that out. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Stitcher, and many, many more. You can check out my fighter breakdowns, my individual fight breakdowns that are fully edited, my MMA topic discussions, my WWE video game series, my WWE and WWF style videos, all on my YouTube channel, which is the same name as the podcast, at Touch 'em Up Podcast on YouTube, youtube.com/Touch 'em Up Podcast. Leave a review for the podcast anywhere you can. Any review, any thumbs up, any type of donation you can send to my PayPal, which I'll have linked in the podcast description and on my YouTube channel. Anything is great. Anything works, and any support is greatly, greatly appreciated. So anything you can do to support the podcast and show me, why you believe I am one of the best MMA predictors and one of the best MMA podcast and the best MMA podcast from a technical standpoint on the internet. Do yourself a favor and support Double M and promote Double M any way you can. I'm your host, Double M. This has been UFC Vegas 66 preview, predictions, and breakdown, and I'm out.